of the Hasan and Cenk debate as
I
well.
am, I would say, not to toot my own horn here, but probably more popular a figure overall than Steven Crowder.
Interesting.
What?
Has to keep saying the right things.
What does he say? Steven Crowder is an the political analysis is so bad. Steven Crowder is an anti-establishment populist Republican. These are not the neocons of the Bush era. I feel like this immediate analysis of how conservative minds work is incredibly crude. Like, if all you watch is Hasan, you are never coming away with an understanding of how conservatives think. Like, you're not even close. You're not even in like the same universe.
That's
You're running
interesting.
for president, and of course I'm going to ask you why, or even how. Before we get into any of that, though, let's start off with the Democrats actually doing something that is unheard of, unimaginable, which is showing backbone and showing a spine and actually doing the right thing, even though they were like kind of forced into a corner to do the right thing on Kevin McCarthy's ouster as Speaker of the House. What do you think about it?
Yeah, look, I guess I love it. Not going to change anything. It's not going to make any difference. But I agree with you. I'm glad that the Democrats didn't gratuitously help him. So I talked to Representative Rokana on Friday in D.C., and we came up with a good idea together, which is the Democrats, for whoever
That
it is,
his
that
children should keep doing.
whatever it is you were going to say. No, that's not it.
Wait, you guys didn't have a good idea of making sure that children were participating in the stock market and having excellent returns?
No.
Year over year? That's crazy.
So came up with the idea of, well, why don't we ask for something in return? So like paid family leave. So if any Republican wants Democratic votes in the House for speakership, yeah, maybe we could do that. Give us a couple of concessions. You don't get it without concessions, right? So we give us concessions
Where are my political orbiters?
of a vote on paid family leave that polls at 84%, and maybe one other vote, right? And then okay, then we can have a deal. But if you and maybe one other concessions of a vote on paid family leave that polls at 84%.
What do you think about using every single government? I'm phrasing something like, what do you think about using every single government process as like an opportunity to fight for things? Do you think it's like it's a good precedent for government? Or do you think it's a bad precedent for government?
Which processes? You mean like?
So right now, voting for
Let's skip
you
this.
say, okay, you want to be speaker? Well, I want this piece of legislation. And then just
Out of this call again.
Like, oh,
If you just want a deal where we needlessly give you the speakership, why in the world would anybody do that?
I think the funniest part about that is that would never happen because Kevin McCarthy would have never done that. He would have probably lied maybe. But what's even better about the situation is that, like I was alluding to, he didn't even like go to the conservative Democrats and offer them anything. Like literally nothing was given. And then there are still, of course, perverts. Both sides perverts in liberal media.
where has he gotten this word? It's such a weird word. This pervert's word.
That are trying to turn this massive within the Republican Party into somehow a issue that is the Democrats' responsibility. Some dude on the Daily Beast wrote an article talking about how, like, this is actually a bad thing that the Democrats did. Once again, here it is. Matt Lewis, who is a conservative himself, said, you can't blame Dems for the blow that right-wing bomb throwers landed on Kevin McCarthy. But what you can say is that they failed to do the right thing on behalf of the American people, which was to make sure that Kevin McCarthy remains the Speaker of the House.
Yeah. So look, I know Matt a little bit. We used to go on MSNBC together. I went on his podcast recently. He's a good guy. But generally speaking, he's from the old school of establishment, bipartisan, uniparty thought, which is the way that this would have gone in the old days.
Uniparty what?
Thought, which is the way that this
Did it lag or something, or the mic cut out?
would have gone in the old days is the Matt Gaetz character would have puffed and puffed, and McCarthy would have said, oh, no way, right?
Way of thought, uniparty thought.
And then at some point, whether it was the Republicans in there inside their caucus or they go to the Democrats and they get a deal, the deal is what it was always going to be, which was cut spending for the average American, maybe throw in a tax cut for the rich or a deregulation or something. It's all theater, it's all fake. Now, here comes a twist. The twist in the story is that the crazy right-wing Republicans like Matt Gaetz are actually not doing theater. I mean, it looks like they're doing theater and they're doing their own theater to raise money, etc. But they're not playing the same old game. This is like, and that's part of why the media and the establishment is so mad because they're like, wait, you guys are supposed to pretend to object, but not actually object, and we're supposed to cut spending for.
Pretty true, yeah. The games of politics have changed. They've probably changed quite a bit. They probably changed through time, to be fair, not just now. But yeah, there's like a level of decorum that conservatives have shed now. Destiny, what? He's used it for years. How ironic the himbo, the use of a YouTube channel joking about taking advantage of college girls, spams the word pervert. I don't think Hasan's channel is taking advantage of college girls. It's just like stupid frat boy advice. I don't think Hasan's ever done anything weird or shitty like that. I think if he would have, I think it would have come out and I think it would show through now. You're not accused of doing like frat boy content in the past. It was maybe misogynistic, sure, but I don't think he's ever been on board with like teach people to take advantage of girls. It's just
Yes, edgy content we politically said.
frat boy advice. McCarthy's successor isn't likely to be any less obstructions than him, so why throw the House into chaos by voting him out? The Democrats traded a known evil for an unknown evil. In my opinion, careful because I'm probably more uninformed than most political commentators on the House stuff, so take what I say with a grain of salt, because I haven't followed this as closely because I'm too busy concerned about the differences between men and women and if body count matters. But I think that it's important to illustrate to the American people that the Republican Party is kind of a sham party right now. Like, they are in utter disarray, and I don't think the onus is at all on the minority party in the House to help them construct the facade that they're not completely full of shit. Unless there's some big part of this House drama that I've missed, they set the rules that a single member could probably vote of no confidence. McCarthy did not work well enough with the Democrats, knowing that he was now up to get shit canned, and then in a historic, once-in-a-lifetime, so far move, Republicans have ousted their own majority leadership while they have control of the House. That is completely on them. Why in the Democrats have any part to play in helping Republicans not look as absolutely insane as they are, right? This is like a guy letting his pit bull out and expecting his neighbor to go out and catch it, some maul, like a squirrel or something, or somebody's carrier dog. Like, this is their beast. They've unlocked it. They can deal with the electoral repercussions now. Because, honest to God, if you care about democracy, and if you truly do care about the country, you need to let Republicans tell on themselves. You have to stop cutting them off the tree. You have to let them hang themselves with the rope that they've amply provided themselves with. You cannot play their games with them as like the referee, a guiding bit.
And let them speak.
I can't do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just Republicans are in disarray. Everybody deserves to see it. Republicans don't deserve help or cover for it. I absolutely disagree that I'm saying something many times. Yeah.
Because they're like, wait, you guys are supposed to pretend to object, but not actually object, and we're supposed to cut spending for the average guy. That's why guys like Matt go, I don't get it, man. The Democrats are part of this play, good cop, bad cop. And the good cops are supposed to come into that.
My one fear is that we get a speaker worse than McCarthy. So what? Like, I'm curious. What is the worst case scenario if there's a really bad speaker in the House? Or can somebody tell me? Maybe I'm not educated on it. Government shutdown? Yeah, I guess that's pretty bad actually, because spending has to come from the House. But like electorally, who's going to look bad for that, right? We already had like the longest shutdown, right, under Trump. Wasn't the longest shutdown in U.S. history? Like, are Republicans really going to shut it down again while their leading candidate is facing 4 different sets of indictments? Like, this is the party that you want to vote for? Dude, you saw my mom. I asked her, would you vote for Trump? And she was like, absolutely. What if he runs as an independent? I'll always vote for Trump. Like, Republican voters are hypnotized.
Oh, okay.
Unbelievable.
And screw over the American people while pretending to be good guys. And so since the Democrats didn't do it and Gates didn't do it,
Loyal.
they didn't get a deal. And so I don't think it's so bad at all. Like, number one, they weren't doing anything anyway.
Yeah.
Right? And number two, actually, somebody threw a curveball into this normal, sick theater.
I like to always say, you know, what would the Republicans do if roles were reversed?
Yep.
And if anybody in here thinks that they would have like dove on a grenade to save
Help
the
any of
Democratic
the
Party,
Democrats? Yeah, really? When the Republicans, when you got like AOC cowering in a house after Cruz is like borderline like cheering on like all the electoral shenanigans, like, no, yeah, fuck that shit. Damn, that would have been a good question for Rokana. How do you work side by side with people that seem like they want to cheer on the destruction of the American system? Like,
for the institutions to like make sure that Nancy Pelosi would have retained her speakership position, you're out of your mind. So yeah, Democrats did exactly what the Republicans would have done in the situation, which is of course always good politics. Okay, it might not yield good policy, but it was certainly good politics. Now, of course, the other side of this is that there was no opportunity for good policy anyway. People are immediately rushing to conclusions that Kevin McCarthy would have been a more moderate speaker than whatever.
why? Okay, so far some takes on this are all good. They're better than I expected. Even the Democrats credit here. Okay, I'll give them credit for this. Did you prefer good topics for Shapiro? I think me and Lex are in the talking stages for setting those topics up. I really want it to be Biden focused and next election focused. I don't want to do culture war shit. Ben Shapiro's smart. I've got drugs. I can do a lot of research. Like, I'm ready to do. Also, arguably, like, it's a half me, but like this has kind of been like my 6 years of political debate has been like leading up to like the debate with Ben Shapiro. So I want it to be a really good conversation.
When is the debate coming out?
Certainly, but functionally, Kevin McCarthy, as the Speaker of the House, was going to operate like the most reactionary person in the party, and he did. He did do that. It's not like he gave a bone to the Democrats in his chaotic order and under his control in the House. Like, they fucking lodged an impeachment inquiry with zero evidence that connected Hunter Biden to Joe Biden. Zero. Okay.
I feel like based on my conversations with Rob Noor, and even I think even Pisco said this. If they wanted to wait, no, if they wanted to do like a Senate, what do you call them? Like when you do like a Senate investigation or whatever into Hunter Biden or some shit, then I mean, if you want to do that, go for it. But haven't they already done it? Haven't they turned up nothing? Am I wrong on that? Hasn't there been a Senate investigation? Has there been a Senate investigation specifically with regards to the Burisma stuff and inquiry? I think they did do it. All they turned out was the tax stuff, right? That was all they found, right? So okay, so then never mind. I won't even suggest that because they've already done it. Or maybe they're doing it now. The House is done investigating. Okay.
Okay. Zero. That's insane. That's so insane. And it's not like there was no investigation leading up to this. There was. They just did it behind closed doors because they knew they had no real evidence. And then they just like kept going along with it. And now they just like apply this rhetorical tactic.
Shapiro matches energy. He and Anna had a very civil, good discussion. I understand that, but there's two things I'm kind of factoring in my head with the political future that we are plowing forward into. One is that, I hate saying this because everybody always says it, we are in unprecedented historical times, right? We have a very realistic shot of a candidate being elected to the office of presidency of the United States from prison, right? Like that is totally within like double-digit percentage points realm of possibility in the next election, right? That's like I wouldn't be surprised if I'm gonna totally bullshit this. Hold on, I wouldn't be surprised if the betting markets right now had Trump at around 30%. Let me check. Okay, predict it. Maybe I'm way off. Election winner 2024. Oh, okay, yeah, 37%. This is just predicted. 37% approximately for Donald Trump, right? This is unbelievable. That's insane. That is insane. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, I feel really bad. You saw my mom, you saw my dad. These are super loving, warm, kind, awesome
Yeah,
people.
that is like only 12 or something.
Okay, my mom, I don't know if I've ever seen my mom be rude or disrespectful to anybody in my entire life. She is like a kill 'em with kindness. You have to be better than them, Stevie, etc. It's like all this shit. You have to, like, that's always my mom. To listen to somebody like that, who's that sweet and kind and loving, start talking to me about like Pelosi and Schumer dancing in the streets of Ukraine with fire in the background, who you heard her say we had 2 family members die from COVID and she's not getting vaccinated because she doesn't trust the vaccine. Among, you know, she doesn't believe in, I mean, climate change is giving a fuck on that, but like, yeah, like that's people like Ben Shapiro are very close to the networks of people that, I'm sorry, my bad, belong to the networks of people that propagate these types of rumors. It's so hard to peg this in my mind, but Ben Shapiro is by far the most left-leaning person on the Daily Wire. It's not even close. Yeah, when my subreddit got mad at me a long time ago because I kept saying that like I think the Daily Wire is like kind of center right. I still do think they're more center right than Shapiro. I'm sorry, than Crowder, because I think Crowder is more to the Trump camp. Like I would argue he's more right than Shapiro, but and the Daily Wire. But Shapiro is the far left person. When you have a room full of Michael Knowles saying transgenderism needs to be eliminated, I think that's a quote on his Twitter. I think he said it. When you got Candace Owens, who God knows all the crazy shit that she believes in. And you got Matt Walsh, who thinks that millions of kids around the United States, you know, are on puberty blockers. Yeah, Shapiro. I mean, you have to like, yeah, that's insane.
There's a little trick where they say the Biden family. Have you noticed that? Where they, instead of saying like Hunter Biden, they always say the Biden family. We're doing crimes, as though like, you know, because technically it's not wrong. Hunter Biden is a part of the Biden family.
Yeah, it reminds me of the trick that Dick Cheney did to get us into the Iraq War. When he was asked on Meet the Press, wait, did Iraq attack us on 9/11? He said, the fighters come from the same general region as Iraq. And that means no, they didn't attack us, and you're just making it up. You're saying what difference does it make? They're all Arabs.
Yeah. So we talked about that. You think Democrats have a little bit of spine? Not that it fucking matters in this situation.
Is Cenk from New York or is he from California? Or is he from Turkey? Actually, where did he spend? Where did he like grow up? I guess I'm just kind of curious. Oh, New Jersey. Okay, he sounds like I don't know if I said New Yorker, but he sounds like that type of area guy. But I didn't know if that was actually where he's from. I was curious. How can he run for president? He can't. Well, he can run, but he probably can't be elected. He's trying to use some esoteric. I think it's a 14th Amendment argument. I don't remember. I think I asked him. I heard somebody asking this in person. I saw him in person because I was in front of him in Rokon. I'm very important. I heard somebody asking this, and I think he gave that answer or something. But yeah. Oh, they talked about it later in this video. Okay.
Anyway, so why do you think the progressives are going to win? What's going on in this book? You wrote a book, finally. You've been writing it for a while.
Yeah. So, look, first I explain all the depressing stuff, so you're not going to be surprised by that, right? And I explain why, even though progressives are 2/3 of the country, and there's no argument about that.
That's a wild claim. It's funny because I have a fight Cenk on every claim that I would agree with him on, and he's going to let slide every claim that I think is a wild argument. But
first I explain all the depressing stuff, so you're not going to be surprised by that.
My guess is, I haven't seen the videos, but I can already extrapolate. When Cenk says that 2/3 of Americans are progressive, what Cenk probably means is there are certain progressive policies that poll really well with 60% or more of Americans. So he's going to say, oh, well, over half of Americans support socialized healthcare, over half of Americans support paid family leave, over half of Americans support $15 an hour minimum wage. Therefore, that makes them progressive. That's probably the argument that he goes. That's my guess. It's probably something like that.
And I explain why, even though progressives are 2/3 of the country, and there's no argument about that, we don't win. I explain exactly why money and media are the two giant factors, and I explain how we live under corporate rule and how we lost the Democratic Party, let alone the Republican Party. But then Kirkus Reviews and everybody else says it's a super hopeful book because in chapter 6 I explain how we're going to win, and the answer is actually really easy, Haas, which is young people are super progressive.
I love that. I just love Cenk's demeanor. He comes off as he really does have friendly uncle energy, probably more than any other individual. He feels like my uncle. He just radiates. I like he calls him Haas. I don't know if do other people call him Haas. Haas. He just radiates friendly uncle energy. I love it.
Yeah. And so the polling is overwhelming. The Republican pollster Frank Luntz's hair, or his toupee's on fire.
Friend of the show, Frank Luntz.
Yeah. Noam Chomsky agrees. You look at.
Oh, I should reach out to Frank. Let's people want to just chat with briefly on stream. Just Frank is we watched a lot of this guy's stuff. Frank Luntz or Lutz. He's the guy that does a lot of the focus groups and stuff during the last election. He seems like a reasonably cool dude. I say old school conservative. Now when I say old school conservative, like Bush era conservative, which compared to the Trumples are so much better. My God.
Any of the data under 45 in 2020 voted massively progressive. Now this time around it'll be under 49. By the time you get to 2028, it's good night, Irene. It's under 54-year-olds and they're done.
I think this is I think this is wrong. I will say.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Just say really base conservatives? No, I would not call Frank Lutz a base conservative. I probably disagree with him on policy on almost everything. I would not call him base, but I would prefer that to a Trump.
It's like the classic trope that time and time.
Do you think you ever get something similar to the affirmative action discussion again? It was very interesting. I have to find a way to rope academics more into my content. The thing is that again, not to start myself off, but the stronger I feel about a topic, it's usually because I'm decently well researched into the topic. But then when I bring on academics, these guys are all from these fields I'm studying literature from. So I don't know if I've ever brought on an academic that's hardcore disagreeing. I'm usually oh yeah, I'm familiar with this. Here's the research. You agree? Obviously, you're a researcher. And I'm just kind of circular for a little bit. The last guy I spoke with was entertaining though. This guy was a good academic. He is very well read, obviously. He's very intelligent, but he's got really good communication skills. He seems personable. He's got children that he likes to talk to. He seems pretty aware of the world around him, so he understands the context that the study sits, how it sits in that context. If you're listening, whatever this guy's son is the one that connected us, thank you so much for hooking me up. Your dad is an amazing guy. He's a really good actor. This is the type of academic person that I wish would foray more into, or take a foray into kind of online political discourse debate, whatever the fuck you want to say. Wasn't he Jordan Peterson? I think he was actually. Yeah, he was. This is the guy that did. He's probably, unless someone's overblowing it, and he's overblowing. I think he's basically the leading researcher on affirmative action in the United States. When he was tasked with doing some of this research, he got access to generally concealed archives of data with how some of these, I believe it was Ivy League universities were making decisions based on affirmative action enrollment and everything. And he's very, very well versed. Yeah, really cool guy. And yeah, this is a really good combo. Yeah, I'm glad I took it. I'm glad it was well received. That's good too. Whatever happened to the professor he's calling? He's going to talk his classes. Oh, we'll probably do it again next year.
I will say this is like the classic trope that time and time again.
Wait, is Jordan Peterson? I'm sorry, this is the last one. I'm sorry. Is Jordan Peterson got less views than yours? Is that so? Peter Archidiacono Jordan Peterson. You didn't disagree with him, right? You think you finally disagreed with? The problem is that I have a fair amount of epistemic humility. If I run into a very well researched person and we have a disagreement, it's pretty rare that I'm gonna stand tall on my opinion and fight down on it. Unless it's something I've done a lot of research on, and for some reason we still disagree. If it's a leading academic in a field, I'm probably just gonna
4-year-olds and they're done.
I think this is I think this is wrong. I will say this is like the classic trope that time and time again the next generation will say was trope. If with one exception, okay, the material realities for the upcoming generation, my generation, is significantly more dire.
That's right.
And therefore they will vote along the lines if they are still participating in the democratic process at that point. If they have
I hate that I have a heart out. I want to read this article right now on stream. Will there be a millennial big chill? I don't know if it's the case that Gen Z is as fucked, or even is fucked, that everybody says they are. I don't think that that's the case.
Data on this.
But it feels like people's engaging of the economy is heavily driven by social media and not actual economic sentiment. But yeah, I don't know.
What is he looking for?
I should book my flight to Sweden tomorrow so that I know if I can stream tomorrow. I say this would break out different cohorts. It actually does say that. That's what I'm saying. You define by Gen Z getting fucked, what metrics do you need to look at? Well, I think that some of the metrics that you look at are probably different generation to generation. So for instance, I would not look at wealth, right? Because let's say we compare, here's a guess that I'll make. Gen Z wealth today, where we look at net worth, is probably lower than it has been in most of US history. That'd be my guess. But the reason isn't because they're actually worse off. It's because they're pulling the slingshot farther back and accumulating a lot of debt at the front of their careers to go to college, right? College attainment rates are higher, right? Just because you have a college degree and a lot of debt, you've got negative net worth, right? A homeless guy on the street has a significantly higher net worth than a recent college grad, or a recent law school graduate, or a recent medical school graduate, but who is wealthier, right? Well, on paper, the net worth, the homeless guy's wealthy. Yeah, so that would be one way I would caution. I would hope that people doing this kind of data research takes account. But looking at the wealth of Gen Z is really low. I would expect the wealth to be pretty low. Their parents are living for a long time, or their great-grandparents, or whatever, because the boomers aren't dying, so that inherited wealth isn't being passed on. Number one, and number two, they're accumulating more debt in the form of student loans than any prior generation, because the requirement of a college degree to be competitive in this economy is getting higher and higher every single year, right? That's another way to look at that, I would say.
You could almost more money in the data lab and then
fully checked out. That's
why I also
sorry.
That's why I also don't like arguments about I don't know if I can find an article on this right now. People say that wages in the United States have stagnated. My understanding is that is completely not true. The data that you have to look at to show wage stagnation, I think, is basically borderline a lie. You only get stagnation if you cut out a lot of managerial higher up positions, and then it's only if you group everybody together. But college educated wages, especially those in certain sectors like tech jobs and everything, are dramatically outpacing inflation and stuff. Now, lowest worker wages are not just stagnating. I think their real wages have actually decreased over time. But to just make a blanket thing and say that wages have stagnated, I don't believe that's true. Let's say productivity grew over 3 times as fast at 600%. Productivity is not growing in every single sector, right? And in the sectors where productivity is growing, those are the sectors that are seeing non-stagnated wage growth. I keep saying I should look at articles, but I feel like I'm running out of time for everything. keep in mind that, and also just a quick reminder, when we talk about productivity in economics terms, I believe productivity is only a measurement of economic output given economic input. So if I got like a college worker and I put him in a job, how much more goods or services can that guy produce? That's like productivity. It doesn't mean like, are you productive or like, are you being efficient at your job, or are you productive or unproductive or whatever. I think productivity is just like, I think is it just cost of employment the goods and services produced? There might be a slightly more sophisticated way of calculating that, but I believe it's just like the cost to create a good or service, all your inputs and then measure with your outputs. I believe that's productivity. But
participating in the democratic process at that point if they haven't fully checked out.
That's right.
And therefore they will vote along the lines. If they are still participating in the democratic process at that point if they haven't fully checked out, they might end up like having a much poorer country overall and having less economic prospects overall will yield understandable results and will yield the same voting patterns. I do not think that it's more so a generation being progressive, but instead a generation not having access to additional economic opportunities that prior generations had. Because
I don't know what that means. I feel like the economic opportunities available to Gen Z today are probably higher than they ever have been. I don't know what he means by that, unless this is like a Reddit or Twitter comment.
I do not think that it's more so a generation being progressive, but instead a generation not having access to additional economic opportunities that prior generations had. Because you see it time and time again, when people have more assets, when people have more capital, they start voting in predictable patterns. They start voting for deregulation because they understand that like this is intrinsically aligned with their interests.
So number one, the trope is actually not intergenerational. It's about demographics overall, right? So people say, oh, that's okay, the Democrats are going to win because they're going to get black voters, they're going to get Latino voters, and that's not at all guaranteed. So I never believed in that. And identity politics generally doesn't work. But the idea that
I feel like identity politics is actually quite a reliable vote for the Democratic Party. That might be changing. So men voted 50-48 Democrat to Republican. Women voted 58-40. Women lean far more blue. Blacks voted 92-6 Democrat Republican. Hispanics voted 72-25. Asians voted 73-26. These are huge margins that probably aren't going to be So people are making fun of Kyla's question, but it is a really important part of the Republican base. White men are being increasingly disaffected when it comes to Democratic outreach. And I think that it's really scary that I think this is really scary that you're starting to get these huge, like, imagine if, like, the white man vote continues to skew in this direction, and this is all, like, racially held over in this direction. That's, like, a really scary trend. That's, like, some Civil War type shit, I think. Far left numbers are share votes, yeah. And for 2022, the voting is skewing even heavier, with white people falling way harder to the Republican side. In the 2022, to be fair, these are trends that are all continuing. I was going to say, a down ballot vote in 2020 might be different than 2022 because of Trump, but 22 points Republican, white men lean 22 points towards Republicans. That's insane. Democrats are losing steam with the Hispanic vote as well. 42-18 plus 13. Hispanic women have fallen a bit, but seems steady-ish. The black vote is still very solidly Democrat, and it's unlikely to change, I think, with Biden still there.
White women to change.
Which group votes the least? Do men vote less? I don't actually know, actually. Do men or women vote more? Gender differences in voter turnout. Does this correct for white people who now identify as POC? Good question. Voter registration by age. Ooh, damn. Women destroying us in every single facet of life. Why?
Seems like they're much more dedicated, huh? Well,
unfortunately, people that voted, recorded voting, women are a few points higher. They're doing quite a bit better in registration, a few points higher when it comes to actually voting. Voter turnout by race. Black women vote way more than black men. Not way more, but that's a 6-point lead, higher than any other gender gap in a race. Damn, 8 million black women voted, 5.9 million black men voted. But you see how big this white demographic is. It's all about the whites, guys. When we do research, okay, this is how I do research. This is always how I do research. We go point by point, article by article, diving into things. This is how I've always done research, okay? You see me do research like this, you're like, oh my god, use my bias, whatever. That's not the point. This is good focus for me, okay? The best focus for me is not sitting and staring like a fucking zonked out Prozac or not Prozac, Xanax out fucking zombie watching a video for 3.5 hours. Kill yourself, seriously, 100% in Minecraft.
People say, oh, that's okay, Democrats are going to win because they're going to get black voters, they're going to get Latino voters, and that's not at all guaranteed. So I never believed in that. The
black voters are probably guaranteed. The Latino voters are becoming more iffy. That's probably true. I
don't
know, there's a study. One thing I wonder is, like, does the Latino voter vote change as Latino kids actually start to become white, right? Like, let's imagine, like, for instance, like, I'm a Latino voter, but somebody who looks like me and acts like me might be more likely to vote Republican because I'm a white male, right? So, like, who's to say that if you take one Latino, you pair them with a white person, and they have a kid, and this kid is, like, very white, like, they're, like, no offense, like Pixie, right? Looks like a white person, right? You start to create these, like, kids, do they still identify as Latino, but they're really white, and they vote white? I'm kind of curious. I don't know if they actually. I'd be curious if that's, like, a data artifact or something, you know?
It generally doesn't work. But the idea that, hey, it's okay, the next generation never saves us, isn't true. And everybody always says, oh, well, we are going to get more conservative as we get older. Well,
Hold on, I'm only answering this one time. I'm only here for an hour more. What is the aim of the research you're doing right now? Is it like general voting info related to the Hasan Cenk conversation or something more specific? If you're listening to something and you don't know the facts of what they're talking about, there's literally no reason not to look it up. So when he says something about, like, oh, we're losing voters, I don't know that's
stand over and over again.
Every time I listen to videos like this, I've said this a million times. When I listen to videos like this, I just look stuff up. That's what I do. We watch these things and I look all that things up. But I think it was only like watching, like, oh my god, Hasan's so mean. Maybe I should do that. I guess like research offline, I guess. And we just like soy out at Hasan's. Thanks, Grace, for the $10.
Quoted a book of meta studies that show that's not at all true. In fact, you're politically true. And everybody always says, oh, well, we are going to get more conservative as we get older. Well, I quoted a book of meta studies that show that's not at all true. In fact, your political leanings get set between the ages of 14 and 24. Every study shows this. And is it true?
I feel like people heard that stupid quote of if you're not a liberal in your youth, you're heartless, and if you're not a conservative in your older age, you're brainless. Like, people hear that quote and they think it's like political reality. I don't think I've ever seen that substantiated data in my entire fucking life.
true for everyone? No, but is it true generally? Definitely. And so one of the examples that I give Haas is that back in 2011, I did a normal study, and they found out that people above 65 years old were the most likely to vote Republican. And generally speaking, they grew up in the older generation, that kind of Gen X, et cetera, grew up in the Reagan times, and actually they were just as conservative when they were younger. Okay, but above 85 was super liberal. And the reason for that is because they grew up with like FDR,
They grew up with different leaders, yeah.
JFK, some range of that, right? And those guys stayed progressive
Well, there's
their
also
whole
like
lives.
I know, but there's like also at that point, how many fucking 85-year-olds exist? You know what I mean? I feel like that,
No, that's not.
that
It's
yields
not
a lot
about,
of.
like right now.
That's not the point he's making.
Now those guys are 97, right? That's not.
There's
the
like
issue.
8 of them.
No, the issue is that it's totally bullshit that people become more conservative as they get older. It's not at all true. It's not backed up by the data. And this generation.
We're going to look it up again. Up to the 1960s, party choice was generally viewed as a result of stable party identifications and social class. The Michigan School. Party preference and political attitudes were assumed to be shaped during an individual's formative or impressionable years in adolescence and early adulthood and remain highly stable thereafter. Which is what Cenk said. That's actually verbatim what Cenk said. Actually, he might be referring specifically to this study because this is technically, I think, a meta-analysis of 11, right? Would you consider this a meta? Is this? Hold on. Using 11 rotating panels to the Norwegian election studies. And no, it's not. This is not a meta-analysis. It's a study of 11 panels. But I think this is what Cenk said. Party preferences and political attitudes were assumed to be shaped during an individual's formative or impressionable years and adolescence and early adulthood and remain highly stable thereafter. Subsequent literature has criticized this view based on the recognition that citizens may well change their partisan preferences and ideological position over the life cycle. So this is challenging that. Consistent with a lot of your analysis shows that people shift to more left-leaning parties up to midlife and then become more likely to swing back towards rightist political parties. These results are obtained using 4 decades of high-quality Norwegian election studies, which feature individual-level rotating panels that allow us to track party shifts over a fixed 4-year election cycle. I wonder if this is actually preference then for political leaning, or if it's actually just like different parties that emerge and like identify with like different voters or something over time. You know, like let's say that like fucking Taking Back Sunday, somebody from that band ran for president, and a bunch of people voted for them from my generation. Is that because my generation is moving in one direction, or is that because just people like that candidate from my generation? You know, yeah, I don't know if sampling from Norway is the best here too. While our analysis, there should be like limitations in this. Have you ever used ChatGPT for research before? A couple times, and I do not recommend it. It's easy and quick to read an abstract and a conclusion, and you should be able to glimpse a methodology section. Using ChatGPT for research, I think, is incredibly dangerous and irresponsible. If you're just studying for exploring, that's fine, but I would never rely on, because I've done ChatGPT studies of articles and then read back over and the ChatGPT summary is not only sometimes sloppy, sometimes it's actually exactly incorrect. It'll read something incorrectly and give you a conclusion that is the exact opposite of the research that it's giving you. So I would be very careful. Scientific verbiage or scientific wording is generally pretty precise, and I think that the extrapolations or the data sets that ChatGPT is trained on just for general language doesn't apply well to scientific literature. This was with ChatGPT 3, maybe 4 is like way.
ChatGPT is trolling.
I
What?
could be wrong on that. Yeah. While our analysis rests on methodological innovation, it allows identifying age effects or cohort and period effects, and actually remains a challenge to track the exact mechanism underlying this result. Nonetheless, findings by and large reject the notion of social political aging can account for much of the individual's tendency to shift toward the right of person's age. This also implies that shifts in party choice over the life cycle are unlikely due to differences in individuals' reliance on public sector transfers and services that accompany such social political aging, and alternative mechanisms that party choices can shift with the life cycle due to changing perspectives on national identity and cultural values. Our evidence here provides partial support, while we find no evidence that fiscal policy preferences affect our estimated age effect. Immigration, environmental, and rural policy preferences do appear to account for a significant part of the observed aging effect in vote choices. Unfortunately, our data do not allow us to explore the role that changes over the life cycle of individual psychological traits may have an aging effect. Okay. I'll throw this here too for voter stuff. Our work in accounting for Fortune 500 IT by company directors asked us to use ChatGPT to analyze customer and sales communications and to allow it to craft our own verbiage when responding. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I'm flat out baffled. That doesn't surprise me at all. I don't want to be wrong ever. When I'm in a debate, I'm not running a cost analysis on my research to see like how often can I be wrong, for how efficient can I research. I want it to be perfect. When you're working for a business, they don't care if you get wrong sometimes. They're looking for a cost benefit analysis. So if they can tell you guys to use ChatGPT and now you're up 20% more orders, but your billable hours is like decreased by like 50%, then like we'll take a few more mistakes, use ChatGPT, we save money that way, right? I'm not saying that's 100% what's happening with your particular firm. It might be that you work with a firm where an error is actually significant or grave and you can't afford having those, but it might be worth it. Like let's say that I've got like 100 employees that do some sort of like managerial work, something like that. I might say, listen, I'm gonna fire half of you, and I'm gonna have the other half of you use ChatGPT, and then I'll hire 5 people to like error check, right? So I've eliminated half the workforce, I've doubled the productivity of the other people that are using ChatGPT, and I brought on a few more workers to fact check the errors, make sure that there are none. Like, that might be like an example of how you would use this is a guess also, or ChatGPT 4, whatever the fuck. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the only thing that I would agree with on that data point is that it is totally, entirely pegged to their economic circumstances.
And the economic circumstances of the younger generation is very, very unfortunately.
No, that's why I'm saying.
I don't know if there's any data to support that. Anything we just read that. Now, careful, so you can look at the perspectives, right? If Hasan wants to take a Marxist perspective, he wants to analyze society through the lens of class. So of course, for him, the only explainer for why political positions change over time is going to be because of class, right? It's going to be because of material conditions, because that's all he can see. It's like putting on glasses that are like black and white or whatever, not being able to see color in the world. So of course, Hasan's analysis is always going to say material conditions covered. I don't know if there's any research to support that though.
And like that is ostensibly the only
True. Also remember he is retarded.
reason that I think the younger generations, the only reason that I think the younger generations as they get older and are devoid of the same opportunities that prior older generations had, because like a lot of the current wealth that we have in this country is trapped in like baby boomers and Gen Xers. Like they are like the last remaining generation with access to any kind of assets, homes, things of that nature.
Everybody has access to assets. What do you mean? I mean, traditionally, when you talk about like investing in assets, of course, older generations have more access to that, but that's like just de facto going to be true. A 20-year-old doesn't have the opportunity to build a net worth. You're not going to own stocks when you're 20. You're still, you might still be investing yourself. You're acquiring debt against a slingshot, right? You're going into debt to increase your lifetime earning potential.
Sure, you're coming.
But this is going to be true no matter what. Any healthy society is going to show a large disproportionate amount of wealth concentrated with older generations, because wealth is something that is going to correlate with your age, hardcore, right? Of course. So why would you ever expect wealth? You want to do, now you can do a generation over generation comparison of wealth at a particular age group, but when you you say wealth is trapped right now with the Gen Xers and the baby boomers, of course it is. Your high concentration of wealth are always going to be in the older people, obviously. Your wealth tends up over your lifetime, or tends out.
Asset.
Except if you're a DSP, not true. That is absolutely not true. DSP's bankruptcy represented a huge increase of wealth for him, and that
Your wealth goes up every time you ask a
life
man.
advanced. So,
That's
Be
homes, things of that
obvious.
nature. You're coming to a situation where
is there anything to be said that most of my friends and peers at age 27 have extremely negative outlooks about buying houses? I mean, like, they might, but I feel like our expectation for what our life looks like today is like, first of all, like, if you go back to the 1950s, for instance, home ownership was like, I think, like 45%, right? People act like when you go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, there's like 98% of own homes. That's not true. Pretty sure home ownership, I think in the 2010s, I think was higher than, even post housing, I think was higher than, like, the 1950s. So, like, people rose into glasses. Also, the types of houses and what you get and where you're situated are way different. In terms of like what you expect now for a house living as opposed to what you expect in the past. I think that the rate of home ownership is still roughly similar-ish. Rate of home ownership per generation comparison. Let's look at this. I don't want to judge the article, but like people will read this and be shocked. The millennial home ownership rate increased from 43 to 47.9% from 2019 to 2020. This is still significantly lower than the home ownership rate for baby boomers at 70.8% and Gen X at 77.8%. Of course it is. Again, your wealth as a human being, every single person, every single like well-off person's wealth, more or less as an individual unit in a country, is basically always going to look like this. Okay, you start with nothing. You borrow some money from mom and dad. Maybe you get a little job in school. Then you do student loan debts, and then this is like your life basically looks like this, right? So or actually, no, I'm sorry, this much will be increasing. It should be increasing because you earn more year after year as you advance through your career. But yeah, you're always going to be in this share here, right? Why would you ever expect to compare in my 20s, I was broke, and now that I'm in my 70s, I have so much more wealth. Yeah, no shit you do, obviously. You accumulate a ton of debt in your early earning years in order to increase your earning potential over your lifetime. Yeah, of course, yeah. So like, you can't do it now. I'm sorry, I already said this. You can't compare
Alright, let's get
generation
this.
rates. That's totally fair.
I'm done.
Gen Z on track with older generations' home ownership rates. Okay, so this is measuring your generation, and this is measuring it through age. So a baby boomer, when they hit age 30, I think it's baby boomer, their home ownership rates were around 52%. The entire fucking market, my dude.
trapped in like baby boomers and Gen Xers. Like they are like the last remaining generation with access to any kind of assets, homes, things of that nature. You're coming to a situation where you have like permanent renters that will never be able to purchase a home.
So part of the reason
That changes their dynamic. That changes their political.
So I don't think we have any. One, there's no evidence of that changing. Number two, there's no evidence that this is even happening. There's zero evidence right now to say that like there's a generation of people that can't buy homes, unless there is evidence, right?
Coming to a situation where you have like permanent renters that will never be able to purchase a home.
So
Take
part of the
that
reason
as
That changes their dynamic. That
evidence.
changes their
100%.
political perspective.
And this is all going toward this is exactly my point, which is look, part of the reason that the younger generations are both millennials and Gen Z are so progressive is cultural factors, right? But the other reason is economic factors that nobody ever talks about. They have no chance of buying a home for the great majority of those generations, right? Everything for them is much harder.
It's interesting after looking at the data how much stuff he's pulling out of his ass or taking for granted. True, but just like analyze the world from his point of view. He's basically like a Marxist-Leninist, right? He can only do class analysis, and his entire audience is full of 18 to 24-year-old people that are asthma, that they've got a lot of student debt, and probably almost little to no connection with the actual real world. It's all very wealthy people, very white people, very politically online, very politically active people that aren't telling you about their economic anxiety, but telling you about the economic anxiety that they think their generation is facing, but they have no idea because they're all wealthy and white, right? That's like the average audience for somebody like this, or for like a socialist TikToker, right?
That is infinitely higher. They're much more
Cenk is not a Marxist. Cenk, no, I'm talking about Hasan's. That's where his analysis is coming from.
tied to corporate rule and have become shallow in a lot of ways.
Hasan.
They're rebelling against that. Besides which, this isn't arguable. They would have to change the dynamic of those generations massively over the next 1 to 5 years for the Republicans to be able to win, right? So, because in the 2020 elections, even the states within the Democratic Party that Bernie lost, he would win under 45-year-olds with 40, 50-point margins.
True, but they don't vote. And it's hard to even say how they would vote. They're not even like really politically engaged, so.
Even after the race was largely over. So, like, the handwriting's on the wall. And by the way, what saved the Democrats in the 2022 midterms? Younger voters. What saved Joe Biden in 2020? 11% more younger voters showed up.
Yeah, but I don't want to look at voter stats for everything. I feel like everything they're saying is only like partially true, half true, not the full story. But I'm going to fact check every single voting thing. I'm pretty sure a lot of the turnout was up, but
The only reason he won. And so this is all trending, not just towards Democrats,
Not just younger people, I think.
but towards progressives.
I don't think like there are more white people now voting for Joe Biden than they did before with Hillary Clinton.
is that true? Because the voter stuff that we looked at before made it look like white people
so
were
small.
hardcore shifting away. I don't know where he gets that number from
Yeah, so small Republican this data.
at all. Was this the graph? Was this the graph? It was Control F race. You shouldn't even tell me you're taking 18 minutes. Yeah. So in 2018, white people were minus 12 for men and plus 2 for women voting Dem. Then in 2020, it turned minus 17, minus 8. It got quite a bit worse, I believe. And then 2022 got significantly worse. Minus 22 for white men, minus 11 for white women. 2018 isn't Clinton? No, that would be 2016. But like, I doubt. Are you telling me that like the numbers were significantly reversed in 2016?
It was white people in general. Like there are more white people now voting for Joe Biden than they did before with Hillary Clinton.
Look, there's a lot of different
That's a huge demographic shift.
I know, but those things shift.
So he's saying that there are way more white people now voting than were voting for Hillary Clinton. Is he saying 2024 than voted in 2016? I have a hard time believing that, but I don't know why I don't believe anything he says.
If they go back and forth, and now all of a sudden Trump's up to 42% with Latinos, he's up to 20% with African Americans. So I'm not relying on that 1%. But I have not seen anything that challenges the numbers.
I don't think the 20% number is real, but you know.
Yeah, no, it might be an outlier.
Wait, that wasn't
up to 42% with Latinos. He's up to. Look, there's a lot of different.
That's a huge demographic shift.
I know, but those things shift. They go back and forth, and now all of a sudden Trump's up to 42% with Latinos. He's up to 20% with African Americans. So I'm not relying on that 1%. But I have not seen anything that challenges the numbers.
I don't think the 20% number is real, but you know.
Yeah, no, it might be an outlier. It might not be exactly right. But the bottom line is, I've never seen a compelling case for demographics saving the Democrats or progressives other than age. And age is the biggest demographic and the biggest difference maker. And so there's other factors too, changing media.
So how are you going to activate younger voters to go out and vote? Because out of the voter eligible population, younger voters are poorer on average, and poorer equals less likely to vote in general. Poorer equals less time off from work, a job that you're most likely trapped in the service sector. How are you going to get young people to go out and vote? This conundrum is the reason why a problem that even Bernie Sanders was unable to solve.
Is he trying to imply that young people don't vote because they can't get the time off of work? One thing that I believe this was researched by David Shore. Fuck, this was researched like 4 years ago. But apparently, if somebody wants to vote, it's very hard to make them not vote. I think the only thing he was saying is like, I think it was like when wait times hit around like 8 hours, that's when you start to like influence. But like people will wait in line, people will drive to faraway polling centers. If somebody wants to vote, they'll vote. This myth of the engaged Gen Z or millennial voter who really wants to vote, they just can't even take 2 hours off work to do it. I don't believe it. Unless he's making the argument like, oh, they're working full time, so they don't care about politics or whatever. I could believe that a bit more, I guess. If that's what, I don't know if that's what he's implying.
How are you going to get young people to go out and vote? This conundrum is the reason why, a problem that even Bernie Sanders was unable to solve, is the reason why he didn't win in the primaries. That was a big part of the problem.
So I hear you. Those are generally problems, but it's not that Bernie Sanders didn't solve it. So first of all, Bernie Sanders won the first 3 states, as we all know, right? And what happened then is mainstream media activated the older voters to vote in droves against Bernie, right? So normally after you win...
The Bernie derangement is real.
First state, let alone the first 3 states, you get it.
Bernie was never, there was no path where Bernie was ever winning ever with the broad electorate. His policies are too far left. 2/3 of Americans are not secretly progressive. Progressives have this problem. I identified this problem, I think, 7 years ago when Bernie first ran, and they still have the exact same problem. Progressives' problems are they think that everybody in America would agree with them if they could just talk to them for 5 minutes. That has always been the major progressive problem. That's why they've lost all of their political relevancy. That's why they have no offices. That's why even the ones in Congress are moderated. That's why the only place where progressives can find a foothold are schools.
To convince them.
Schools with politically deactivated people. They just have free time on their hands to go and protest. They teach you that they feel like they use the proper pronouns, right? These policies are just not popular broadly with the American people, no matter how many times progressives scream it at you until they're blue in the face. It's not true.
Like a significant amount of positive coverage, and I have the numbers and the data in the book. But of course, Bernie got like 3 times the negative coverage.
We were saying the same thing.
When Bernie started winning elections, he started getting positive coverage. There were people that were talking about him getting positive coverage. I remember on CNN they mentioned something about how like when I saw him, I thought of like Hitler or something. Somebody said that on I think it was CNN or MSNBC, and everybody derided that guy. Everybody derided that guy for such a stupid fucking comment. And people were starting to take Bernie more seriously when he started to perform well in elections. But then he started to get destroyed, especially when he wandered into the South when he didn't communicate well with people like Clyburn and build a coalition of black voters and getting that support. Like he just didn't do it. Bernie never had a shot at winning either of those elections.
You're just saying...
No, but my point is, at that point, even with mainstream media...
Do you respect Bernie? I disagree with his policy. I respect him as a person. I think he believes in what he believes in, and he fights what he believes in. Yeah, I respect him as a person. Yeah. Wasn't that Chris Matthews from MSNBC? It might have been. Chris Matthews, Bernie, Hitler. This is a wild 10 minutes. I don't fucking have time for this shit.
So Bernie Sanders with
army in Europe, also
of France.
I was reading last night, Brian, I know you're a history guy too. I'm reading last night about the fall of France in the summer of 1940, and the general calls up Churchill and says, it's over. And Churchill says, how can it be? You got the greatest army in Europe. How can it be over? He says, it's over. So I had that suppressed feeling, I can't be as wild as Carl, but he is damn smart, and I think he's damn right on this one. So
the number of times that
It wasn't even like a good, it was just dumb. It wasn't even a good like comparison. Why is this your go-to? But yeah, I didn't get blown up on almost all media for this. Like, yeah, Bernie had some positive coverage when he was a popular candidate, but he was never going to be the one. I'm sorry.
3 times the negative coverage.
We were saying the same thing.
Right.
You're just saying...
No, but my point is, at that point, even with mainstream media just blasting Bernie, talking about executions in Central Park and giving Biden enormous positive coverage, etc., Obama rallying everyone, Buttigieg, etc., still, if it was 4 years later, Biden would have lost to Bernie because of the age demographics. Just couldn't do it with 45-year-old and under enough. Like if it was like 49-year-olds and under, Bernie almost certainly would have won. So, and here we are 4 years later. So, look, is it written in stone? Of course not. But is it as dire as people think? Not even close. I think we're definitely the favorites, not the underdogs. And Haas, here's another giant factor.
Would you say Bernie sort of done politically? He didn't build a good coalition, and he surrounded himself with questionable people. But I mean, he got farther than anybody thought he would. I give him credit for that.
Media. So we all know mainstream media hates progressives and destroys us at every turn, right? And so they activate the older voters, etc. But now they're losing their power. But here's a really important fact that people don't absorb enough. Now, for most of the television networks, their costs are higher than their revenue. Are they really going to be able to last 5 more years of bleeding out? So at some point, this doesn't just wither away; it capsizes, right? Meanwhile, what's happened? TYT's happened. You've happened. Tons of like new streamers.
If AOC isn't power popular, that's why you think Bernie's dumb. I'm sorry, did I say Bernie is dumb? Did I ever say that? I don't think Bernie Sanders is stupid at all. He's probably well above average intelligent person. He's a pretty intelligent guy. I don't ever say he's dumb.
And almost all of them are progressive, right? Tons of like.
His attitude is so disrespectful. He looks mad to his family member attention.
One guy, by the way.
That's how autistic this looks. I should probably avoid it. But the reason why this looks mega autistic is because Hasan, Cenk is trained here in like older media where you make eye contact with the person you're talking to. For kind of like new media or no media training guys like Hasan or me, where you say like I see the guy next to me on my monitor. Like I can see you better on my monitor in front of me than I can if I look to the side. So it's tempting. And then also because I'm used to my monitor. Hasan, I'm trying to be charitable here. Hasan's probably looking at Cenk. He's just looking at him in his OBS window rather than like turning awkwardly to face him. That's why it looks weird. But I see that it looks bad. This happened when I'm on a Pearl show when I just looks like I'm staring straight ahead and the lower guys like sometimes looking at me staring straight ahead looking at the monitors. Yeah.
New streamers progress, and almost all of them are progressive, right? So we've got some right-wingers trying their best, spreading sexism, bigotry, racism.
I think right-wing media.
Unless Hasan's just looking at responding to chat.
New streamers progress, and almost all of them are progressive, right? So we've got some right-wingers trying their best, spreading sexism, bigotry, racism.
I think right-wing media is significantly more popular. I wouldn't say that like they're
right-wing media is significantly more popular. Is that true right now? I don't even know how you would measure that. I feel like right-wing media took a
I guess he's trying to look at the chat and make the decision.
huge hit after Tucker Carlson had his plug pulled at Fox News. I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson was the most popular politician
He was lit up the chat a lot.
in the United States, I think. And him getting pulled from Fox News, I think puts conservative media in a weird spot. The Daily Wire is still huge. Tucker still commands a decent-sized audience on Twitter, and Steven Crowder's pretty big. But like the Blaze, OAN, Breitbart, like are these like I don't know. It feels like there's a lot more left-wing media on like YouTube and stuff. I think now it's hard to say, but yeah, it depends on if you count like BreadTube or anti-woke shit and red pill shit. I'm not sure. I think it'd be really hard to. Yeah, Tim Pool. I don't know if I'd say Tim Pool right wing. He's like some weird like alternative. I would say alt right. He's on some world on his own. He's like a populist right guy thing. I don't know. Because like Tim Pool will say like I'm gonna support Donald Trump no matter what, but also I want like socialized healthcare. Tim Pool's kind of a weird island world.
Popular because they have more like genuine grassroots support, but they're popular in the same exact material reasons as to why CNN cuts
Temple and Ireland. I'm with Matt Gates. Yeah, I got invited to that, but it was just for VIP seat. If I'm not gonna be on show, okay. I want to be with you guys.
Exact material reasons as to why CNN cuts corporate propaganda, MSNBC cuts corporate propaganda, and Fox News is the most popular news broadcast. They have moneyed interest backing them.
I feel like, and I know people never do this, but please, okay, because I know some of you guys watch other people, okay? Notice how like when I say something, I'm always trying to Google it. I'm doing this way more now in our post-hour world. I'm trying to do this way more now. If I Google something, I say something, I try to look up the stat to show you. Don't let people just say stuff like this. Like, ask for a source. When you say CNN is corporate bought media, what's like an example of a position or an article or a report that CNN did that you feel like is compromised by their backers? I hate it that people just say statements like this, and a lie repeated often enough becomes the truth. Like, people just start to take it for granted. Like, oh yeah, CNN. Remember when I think it was the Washington Post that Amazon bought, and everybody said that like Bezos was going to be basically dictating to them like what to write, and it probably didn't seem that crazy at all. But like, yeah. Jackson hung up in 8 minutes. Oof.
Whereas like real progressive content has to revolve around, or if they want to be sustainable, heavily rely on like subscriptions and
this is really important. Remember when we did that Adam and Sitch convo, and I think it was Sitch that was like, yeah, I think the New York Times gave horrible coverage or something to some issue, and I looked at the, I was like, where's the horrible coverage? And then he walked it back and was like, okay, never mind, this actually probably never happened. You know?
The daily line.
if they want to be sustainable, heavily rely on like subscriptions and that is incredibly difficult.
Wait, what?
If they want to be sustainable, heavily rely on like subscriptions.
I believe Steven Crowder and Daily Wire do rely on subscriptions.
And that is incredibly difficult. There's nothing as good as just like having unlimited wads of money from concentrated wealth that will give you a couple billion here, a couple billion there.
A couple billion being given to these companies? What is CNN's revenue? CNN's total revenue from 2021 to 2022 was $1.9 billion. That's a really big number to just be giving out. Jesus. I wish we had references here. Like, what are we talking about here? An individual sponsor is giving $1 billion to even a mainstream media conglomerate? Like, what are they getting? I don't know. I wish that we would get more, like, factual connecting thing. Yeah.
And that is precisely the reason why Daily Wire is fucking, taking our lunch money all day, every fucking day.
But Daily Wire's revenue, I'm pretty sure the majority of it comes from paid subs, doesn't it? How many paid subscriptions Daily Wire has? In June of 2022, co-founder Jeremy Boring said the Daily Wire had 890,000 paid subscribers. In November 2022, Boring said that they had surpassed 1 million. I don't think these guys are relying on corporate donors or the military-industrial complex or billionaires to fund their company. There are legitimately huge interests of people to watch this type of stuff. It took us 5 years to get our first 100,000 active subscribers, but we doubled down, reached higher, pushed harder, and just 2 years later, we've 10x that number. Oh my god. In addition to those numbers, Boring also announced a slate of upcoming projects in development, including the exclusive option to develop and produce an adaptation of Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. Jesus. We're going to be watching that one on Kick. We will watch that movie, okay?
Nice.
Daily Wire subscription. I'm curious how much a Daily Wire subscription costs. They said they had 1 million paying subs. Join to watch. Oh my god, no shot. Their minimum is $9.60 a month? And that's if you bill annually? So what do you think their average billing is? If I'm generous, I can say $14 a month? Assuming people don't do the 16 or 20 for the all access.
$16.
Oh my god, and that's monthly? That's monthly. That's monthly? I was about to say, okay, so they still get a good chunk of change from external funding, but that's monthly. 1 million people. We'll just say 10 million. We'll just say 10 million a month. That's 120 million in revenue. Daily Wire revenue. That's like a low ball. 2022. Exceeded 100. So it looks like the Daily Wire is almost completely independent. That's what it feels like. I could be wrong. They might still do sponsors. I think I've seen venture do sponsors. I'm sure they do sponsors. I'm sure it's not completely, but like I don't think I would be pretty surprised if a media company like the Daily Wire was taking direction from a sponsor. Like, we don't want you guys to cover that. I can imagine Venture covers something just because the sponsor says that. Like, do you think a company that is grossing 9 figures, what is a successful company? Over 10 million a month just in subscriber revenue is having its media diet prescribed to them by, like, it's possible, it could be the case, but I feel like you need to prove that. And I think right now, I would say that on a balance of probabilities, they're probably not. They're probably not taking marching orders from Lockheed Martin coming and the Iraq War and fucking, whatever the fuck else you think is driving.
Yes, I should give example of that one.
What is the Washington Post? Washington Post revenue. Is this a publicly traded company? Do I even know? Their revenue is 310 million. Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. If WAPO is owned by Amazon, then the financials have to be reported, right? Because why don't I have 1 million subs, guys? Oh, while their revenue is 310 million. However, while their revenue is high, I bet the costs of the Washington Post are significantly higher than the Daily Wire. That would be my guess. I could be wrong though. But
think about it this way: the Steven Crowder $50 million conversation. I would say, not to toot my own horn here, but
wait, what? But that $50 million conversation, that wasn't a corporate buy. That was offered by the Daily Wire. That's funded by subscribers, right? You see, I just put together a little narrative there. Corporate people buy out conservative media. Look at Steven Crowder. He was going to get $50 million, but that $50 million wasn't like some weird corporate strings attached money. Also, no offense, Steven Crowder is not a guy that's probably going to take marching orders unless it's from like Black Rifle Coffee, right? Crowder's not going to be taking orders from money. That's not what the populist right does. Crowder would never do that. I think Crowder would just blow up the military-industrial complex as he would like take. I don't know.
Dollar conversation. I would say, not to toot my own horn here, but probably more popular a figure overall than Steven Crowder.
What? Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Hasan is very much, not to toot my own horn, but I might be more popular than Hasan now. Hasan, and I'm not even close to Crowder's level of media penetration. Hasan is very much bubbled into the Twitch world, and he has a very hard time breaking out of that. For whatever reason, it seems like he has a very hard time going onto other shows, reaching outside. Like, the biggest failure, I will always say this, the biggest failure of Hasan over the past 2 years is that an actual, like, Giga Chad, dates porn stars, and looks hot as lives, blah, blah, blah. How the fuck did this guy not run through the entire Red Pill community and collect, like, 20 million new fans, right? Like, Destiny, why do you say you're more popular than Hasan? I think my reach is bigger on, TikTok and YouTube, and I think my shows that I do on other platforms, I think tend to outperform the shows that he does on other platforms, I think. The last time I checked, but it's probably close-ish. But Hasan seems really popular because on Twitch, his viewership is good, but I think Hasan has a really hard time reaching outside of Twitch. I think he'll go to areas that are very Twitch-centric, but for some reason he just doesn't want to push out of that bubble very much. I think Hasan could be 10x more popular with minimal effort. I think Hasan could be 10 times more popular with minimal effort, but he plays it very, very, very safe. But that's my guess. I could be wrong, but
just doesn't want
There's no $50
debate,
million deal.
He
guys.
has reach with Linus and H3H3. Yeah, but it's not real. You can say that he has reach with Linus. He's clouded, but he's not as popular as he should be when he's clouded. For instance, you say, like, here's a prediction I'll make. You can say I'm coping, but I know it's true. His podcast with H3H3 is the lowest performing podcast on that network, I think, by far. If I did a show with Ethan, that show would do more viewership than Hasan does. Guaranteed. I know it would 100%. Because there's so many H3H3 fans that reach out to me and tell me that show fucking sucks. There are so many people that complain that show is the lowest viewership show. So you can say, like, oh, look, he's got like all this, blah, 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 but it doesn't perform that well. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Yeah, Myth is ultra clouded, right? He has 100 concurrent viewers. I'm not trying to make like a dick wave because me and Hasan, right? Like, we're both successful in our own areas. I do outreach way better than he does. But I only say that because Hasan could be 10x more popular. He can't look at douchebag. I'm not fucking numbers. Kill yourself. If it offends you to analyze numbers, and fuck off. What the fuck do I care? You can go look at numbers on YouTube or depending anywhere you want. Yeah, Hasan should have been doing the red pill arc. Like, he's got the perfect, like, physiognomy, is that what they say it? He should have slayed so fucking hard. Like, could you imagine Hasan on fucking Fresh and Fit with Myron screaming, and he's like, ah, and he's just doing his fucking shit, and he stands up like 6'5", Giga Chad, and just like walks the fuck away. Like, Hasan
Okay.
the world before him, like, he could have ascended to, not Jake Paul tier, but like, he could have made that climb. But he very much got really big in the Twitch sphere, and was like, I'm done growing. That's it, boom. And then he stopped, right? That was basically, like, he was like, ah, fuck it, I'm done, right? That's why you see his, like, viewership is on like a hard slide over the last 6 months. It's on a pretty hard slide over the past 365 days. His YouTube channel is on a pretty short slide as well. He doesn't do as well. But anyway, I'm not like shit on his viewership. I'm saying he could have done so much better. He's similar to Vosh. He just kneecapped himself because he was happy being a big fish in a medium pond when he could have been a whale in a world full of them.
Another boss.
My way that is unimaginable. That would never happen in a million years because Steven Crowder doesn't have to generate $50 million in revenue. He just has to keep saying the right things.
What does he say? Steven Crowder is an the political analysis is so bad. Steven Crowder is an anti-establishment populist Republican. These are not the neocons of the Bush era. Steven Crowder, I don't believe, will ever. And again, if he has shows or podcasts or some links and doing it, you can demonstrate as much. But Steven Crowder is not like going to be the neocon taking marching orders from big business. That's like that era of conservatism is gone. Steven Crowder, when he talks about his value, what does he make his money? Steven Crowder makes money in the Mug Club. He gets paid on his money. How many? I wonder if this number's ever been released. I don't think it has because the Blaze, I don't think publishes their stuff or talks about it as much. How many Mug Club members? Do you think he's very insecure? Hasan is ultra insecure. Steven Crowder leads with more than 58,000 pre-sale paying subscribers.
I can tell.
Rumble. I wouldn't be surprised. I could be wrong. I would say that Steven Crowder's Mug Club numbers are probably within half an order of magnitude of the Daily Wire number. That wouldn't surprise me. If he had 500,000 Mug Club members, I could see that being possible. If he had 500,000 Mug Club, I think he could. Because those Mug Club members were really important when he was trying to set up a new website, when he talked about leaving Blades. Yeah, that was a really big deal. Crowder, I think, was the second or the most popular. Was he the most popular YouTube conservative? He's way smaller than the Daily Wire. Steven Crowder is definitely smaller than the Daily Wire. But outside of Ben Shapiro, I think Steven Crowder is or was the largest guy in alternative, not all right, in alternative media on the right. Oof, damn, his numbers slid quite a bit though. But like, who's more popular than Steven Crowder besides Ben Shapiro? Jordan B. Peterson? I think Jordan B. Peterson is, but he's also part of the Daily Wire. Tim Pool is probably more. I'm sorry, yeah, probably Tim Pool. Joe Rogan. I don't know if Jordan right leaning. Wasn't he demonetized on YouTube? Yeah, he was.
Wait, I thought
Brett Cooper from the Daily Wire. You think Brett Cooper is bigger than Crowder now? Maybe.
Jordan is right leaning.
Probably a huge amount of ambition is the only reason I am where I'm at. We weren't all born nepotistic Andes in Beverly Hills homes, okay? I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a good old boy. I grew up on the ranch. We picked corn every day. We ran our Cuban slaves into the ground. You know how it goes.
Okay.
And billionaire-backed, because Steven Crowder doesn't have to generate $50 million in revenue. He just has to keep saying the right things. And billionaire-backed independent media that is basically cutting the same exact propaganda that Fox News cuts will keep funneling money to those places.
Like, I feel like Fox News, I feel like Fox News was more, Tucker Carlson was an outlier. Brent Cooper is 145 million views a month. I don't believe that. It's probably YouTube Shorts. I don't believe that. That sounds like heavily YouTube shorted. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Yeah, I'm curious who the billionaire backer is Steven Crowder. I'm sure he does. I'm sure, like, because like the Koch brothers have thrown money at fucking everything. But like, I feel like Steven Crowder's largely fan funded. That'd be my guess.
Backed independent media that is basically cutting the same exact propaganda that Fox News cuts will keep funneling money to those places.
Yeah, so I understand our disadvantages very well because I'm in this business, right? But look, even with all our disadvantages, TYT gets about 5 billion views a year. So Daily Wire can kiss my ass. All the right-wingers combined can kiss my ass. And so good news is I'm not just a good host. We have a lot of great hosts on TYT. I'm a really good businessman. And so I've maintained us in...
Koch brothers and the main backers of a lot of YouTube stuff like PragerU. I think PragerU, you could make the argument that PragerU is corporate-backed because I don't think they self-serve anything. That could be fair. Like private equity or whatever the fuck.
Business for 21 years, an impossible industry. We built a network of progressives, and we just keep on winning. So they're not going to be able to get rid of us. We're going to win, and then when we get more resources, we're going to dominate even more. So
I'm curious if the Young Turks is sliding or if the Young Turks has increased. I feel like they've done good recently now. They've done good. Nice job. Okay. Because I remember a while ago I felt like they were kind of starting to slide, but they've done a good job.
Very good.
I wonder how much they do the YouTube short stuff.
But the problem, the
Is it
advantage of the right wing has is...
How do you feel about public school systems adopting PragerU content? PragerU stuff, almost every PragerU I've ever seen is like comically misinformed and simplistic and stupid and horrible. PragerU is probably one of the worst resources online for factual information. Like, absolutely horrible. It's like the second thought of the right or whatever.
dominate even more. So the problem, the advantage of the right wing has is infinite money, and the left has almost no money at all, right? But
I don't like that argument. I know that Cenk would agree with me, but like, guys, we have money now. Why do they act like we don't have money? We have money. We can fund it. We're not billionaires, but we've got money, and more importantly, we've got influence, bro. Like, Vosh is Vosh is a very big streamer. Hasan is one of the largest streamers on Twitch. He's got a good YouTubers as well. I make a decent amount of money now. Like people on the left online, if they actually came together, and the Young Turks, have a lot of views. David Pacman does a lot in viewership. Like, I don't know. You can do this. Like, why is everybody so reluctant to pitch in? I don't know. Fuck. Leftist ideology always
Because he is Tibet.
functions by doing stuff as a poor perspective. Yeah.
disadvantage that the right wing has is that they're not popular. We say things that are popular, and people like what we're saying because it's in favor of them, right? The right wing has garbage that says, "Oh, rich people are great. You should give all of your money to rich people." This show brought to you by rich people. That shit's never going to be ultimately that popular. And part of the reason
but that's why they always move around and try to latch on to focus-tested talking points on deeply and undesirably unpopular policy positions that they have. That's why nobody says we want to criminalize abortion and like lock women up. That
I'm sorry, hold on. How many states have criminalized abortion completely? These victories bring the number of states that have already banned abortion or are likely to do so down from 26 to 24. Still a staggering number that means millions of people are being denied the right to bodily autonomy and access to critical health care. What did Hasan mean when he said that? It's not like people want to ban abortion or
focus-tested talking points on deeply and undesirably unpopular policy positions that they have. That's why nobody says we want to criminalize abortion and like lock women up. That
I'm pretty sure like a decent amount of state legislatures have criminalized abortion because a lot of Republicans do feel very strongly about abortion.
Have a pregnancy and want to exercise their bodily autonomy. They say we're pro-life. Life begins at conception. And when there is an anti-Catholic, anti-Christian slant in the United States of America, which there is, then they change the conversation around from even someone like Ben Shapiro, who is very religious, like he doesn't hide that. They change the narrative around from instead of talking about like how life begins at conception is a Christian talking point and therefore you have to abide by it because America's a Christian nation. They move towards how this is actually a moral argument. This is the scientific argument. Like this kind of paradigm shift, this kind of like propagandizing and the mechanism that backs it is all too powerful because once again it goes back to concentration of wealth. So it doesn't really matter. Like there is, Daily Wire is more.
If it's concentration of wealth, why is it that you're getting like lower educated, lower like working class white people and shit that are the ones in these places that are break away massive voters for Trump and shit, right? Do you think it's only wealthy white guys that are voting for Trump? I feel like it's neglected groups of people that. But he would say that Bernie reaches into, I guess, whatever. I don't know. I feel like they're. Listen, I'm all for shitting on conservatives, and I will do it every now and then and say they're retarded, anti-vaccine, death cult fucking losers. Like, I don't mind doing that. But I feel like you're giving a serious political analysis, a sobering political analysis of both sides. I don't think I've ever in my life have I ever heard Hasan Piker give a coherent view of like the conservative ideology. I think he was challenged to on pain of death. I don't think he could actually do it. I don't think he could explain like, why do you think a conservative is against abortion?
He doesn't actually know.
Well, they hate women and they're misogynistic and they don't want to take care of the baby. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I don't know. This is frustrating.
Successful than both of us combined. I'm sorry, that is just the reality.
No, not in terms of view.
Of wealth. So it doesn't really matter. Like there is, Daily Wire is more successful than both of us combined. I'm sorry, that is just the reality.
No, not in terms of views. In terms of money,
I don't
have more
think
money.
so. I think that they are very.
They get more than 5 billion views a year.
The Daily Wire. It's hard to measure it, but probably. I think the Daily Wire. If I had to guess, they probably 3 or 4x the views collectively of all of the Young Turks. That'd be my guess, but I could be wrong. Like it's hard because so many of these people use like YouTube Shorts. And do I count that? Jesus Christ.
Who is
So
that?
just YouTube Shorts, I would say, like, if I'm including YouTube Shorts, like Brett Cooper alone here is doing 145 million views a month. A few months ago, she did almost 300 million. That's a quarter of a billion views in 1 month. And that's just one content creator. That's only Brett Cooper. That's only Brett Cooper. And that's only on one channel. And that's only on one platform. Ben Shapiro, I don't know how many shorts he does, but this is like, 10th of a billion views a month. Yeah. My guess would be that, like, do we feel like the Daily Wire is probably a $1 billion company, right? Do we feel like the Young Turks is a $1 billion company?
You can look it up.
If the Daily Wire could do a show, would you join? Maybe, I don't know. If the Daily Wire is doing $200 million a year in revenue, 5x revenue for evaluation, I think that's low, right? Don't people usually 7x or more revenue for trying to figure out a fair valuation for a company? If you're doing $200 million a year company, 5x valuation assuming no growth, which they've grown a ton, is giving you a $1 billion valuation for that company. But I know this is going to vary from anything, but like, yeah, I think the Daily Wire is probably a $1 billion company. That'd be my guess. That'd be my guess, yeah. But I could be wrong.
I don't know. I think that they are very.
They get more than 5 billion views a year.
Oh, 7x sales sounds not 7x earnings. Maybe is earnings. Is that gross or net? It sounds like you said revenue wouldn't be. So you're saying it would be 7x net. Well, but also, even if we say 7x net, if the Daily Wire is grossing 200 million, bro, how much do you think the Daily Wire spends a year on their content? It feels like they don't spend that much. Like, what is a woman? That wasn't a 10. Fuck, I wish I could guess. If I had to guess, I feel like What Is a Woman was made for less than $1 million. Easy. That thing probably made like 50 times its fucking money. What is a woman? Do you think I can find the cost? I feel like even made that for less than $1 million. What is a woman? Is the cost listed online? Fuck, it's not. But like, there were no complicated shots. Your biggest cost for this was probably talent. It's probably like paying Jordan Peterson for his segment. I feel like this thing was significantly less than $1 million. I bet you could have shot this for $500K less. That'd be my guess. They make movies now too? Oh, that could be. Wait, did they make The Sound of Freedom? Was that their movie? It might be travel. Yeah, but what's travel? 20K per scene? You're bringing all of your equipment and a full crew? Maybe? I actually don't. I'm not sure. The Sound of Freedom. Wikipedia. They made some Western. They made it with a school shooter. Oh, God. This was not. Oh my God. 14.5 million budget, 251 million box office. These numbers might be good. It's a really weird thing where they quote unquote buy online tickets for other people and it was just donating money to the film. But I don't know. I don't know. That was wild and stuff. But okay, sorry. I would assume less than 100K for the movie, maybe a big cap for Walsh, but that's it. Peterson had to have been paid at least 10K to sit and do 3 to 5 minutes for that film. I'm fine. I could be wrong, but I find it hard to believe that Peterson sits down for less than $10,000. If somebody said, I'll give you $5,000 to go to a studio, probably shoot for, but you're probably gonna be there for an hour or two, pick everything else out maybe for 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes of footage maybe.
It's easy
I feel like
10K.
10K minimum. Unless it might be written into their contract that they're required to star, which I think it actually is. I think it is in their contracts that they have to star in each other's films, which is very smart. The Daily Wire utilizes their talent so well. Fuck, they do so well. I'm sorry, that company makes me so hard on the business sense. They've done such a great job developing their talent. They're very careful with image, how they lease it out, how they all are required to do content and exchange everything. And oh yeah, fuck, they do such a good job of managing their business.
I don't have more money.
I think hard out of 10. I'm sorry for somebody to show.
It's the reality.
No, not in terms of views. In terms of money,
I
have
don't
more money.
So I think that they are very.
They get more than 5 billion views a year. I
don't know.
They easily get more than 5 billion views a year. Depends on what you're counting as a view though, but easily if you're counting everything.
The metrics you're working with when you say 5 billion views a year. I don't know if you're just simply talking about YouTube.
Facebook,
Yeah, you're talking about YouTube, Facebook.
Easily, Jank. Easily 5 billion views a year. Easily.
Snap.
What was Brett Cooper Daily Wire? If we're doing the shorts thing, in 1 year, how long has your channel been in existence? April 2022, and what are we in now? September? Like, Brett Cooper alone has done probably 2 billion views in a year. Maybe? Maybe 1.7 billion views. That's just one of their talents. That's just Brett Cooper. That's just on YouTube. And I'm pretty sure, I think she's big on, I think they do Instagram Reels too, right? So, like, yeah, I'm sorry. Cenk is out of his mind here with this, I think, but.
You name it.
That's great. If Daily Wire is on all of those platforms with the exception of Snap, I think, probably. I would assume that they're not on Snapchat. And yes, they probably get significantly more. I don't have access to their media.
Hasan is correct. I don't know if he checks the numbers how he knows, but Hasan's absolutely correct there.
Yeah, but their Facebook numbers blow everyone else's out of the water. Time and time again, every single Daily Wire content creator is absolutely at the top of the leaderboard in terms of impressions, in terms of readers, in terms of everything.
So Haas, let me give you my perspective and context on it. So since I'm like a generation older than you, I grew up completely on
He's actually denying
media.
it.
We didn't have any options at all, and I write about that a little bit in chapter 5. And that turned everybody Republican. And the reason for that was that they would tell you like Ronald Reagan is the Gipper and he's a cowboy and he's awesome and he's America's a shining city on a hill. That's what Republicans stand for. And Democrats are weak losers like Michael Dukakis looking funny in a tang. And they all did it 24/7. There was no other option, just corporate media. And so I think conservative voters have some redeeming values. We can talk about that if you want, but all Republican politicians and all Republican media figures are liars. Okay, they have to lie because they can't say, "Hey, I want you to take all your money and give it to the rich."
Do you agree that can the media actually change something into Republican? I don't think there's any data that supports that. Ergo, vis-a-vis. Thanks for giving 5 memberships. I doubt that's true, but I could be wrong.
That's their actual objective, and they can't ever.
If I had to guess mechanistically, once you're in a certain media bubble, it's probably hard to move you out of that. Like when you start consuming certain media, it's hard to imagine that one day you're like, I'm gonna start watching Fox News, unless like a big, like a groundbreaking event happens that dramatically shifts your media diet, like Donald Trump, maybe something like that.
Or say that, and then you can say it about 100 different things. They can't say, "Hey, I want you to smoke cigarettes and get cancer because they pay me." "Hey, I want you to take guns and shoot yourselves because the gun manufacturers pay me." "I want you to destroy the planet because ExxonMobil pays me." They're never going to say any of that. So it's one lie after another.
Well, but they also organically support all those things instead of Republican voters. But then we get into this weird world where we're in catch-22. They'll say, "Oh, they're like, well, hold on." They get those sponsors because the viewers of those channels legitimately support those things. Like, oh, well, the only reason why they support those things is because the conservative media brainwashed them into believing it. And it's like, well, how do you even prove that? So does that mean everybody on the left believes that they believe because they got brainwashed into that? Like, does nobody have any organic belief whatsoever? I mean, our beliefs don't exist in a vacuum, but like.
Another after another, and we call them talking points. But these days, even if you were right and Daily Wire is slightly larger than TYT or TYT slightly larger than
Daily Wire is probably significant. I'm pretty sure Daily Wire is like de facto the largest alternative media. Like it's not even close. I'm pretty sure they dwarf everybody else. My guess would be by an order of magnitude. If TYT says they do 5 billion views, my guess would be the Daily Wire collectively does 50 billion plus, and that's without me knowing how great their reach is on Facebook.
It doesn't matter because what matters is that it can't stop us, you, and 1,000 other streamers out there, and we're gonna get the message out. And so like now some of their old talking points sound so dumb and asinine. And so when they try their things about like, oh, trickle down economics, when I was growing up. The media actually brainwashed people into thinking trickle-down economics was real.
Yeah, the same. Okay.
And now we've destroyed that. Anyone who says trickle-down economics is considered a total joke.
We didn't destroy that. I don't think that we destroyed that. I think like objective reality and the lack of that promise destroyed it.
Hasan is correct here. Broken clock and all that. I feel like we tried. The thing is, I feel like we tried that trickle-down shit for a long time. And it's like clearly this is probably not working. Wherever it is, we can't see it and we feel like shit. But then the problem is they still voted for the Trump tax cuts and they're still happy to get them, which was essentially more trickle-down economics because you were giving disproportionately more money to wealthy people than poor people. So I mean, I don't know. Republican voters are fucking retards. But then against our Democrats, we're all retarded at the end of the day.
Significantly more than
objective reality was always against it, Haas. It wasn't even close.
I know, but people started people after 30, 40 years of neoliberal austerity recognize now that like that is complete bullshit. Now,
has the United States, do we ever do austerity? Like since Clinton, have we even tried to balance budgets? Like, do we do any of that shit? I feel like austerity is a very like European-esque concept. In the United States, both parties fucking love to spend. We love spending, bro. Fucking Democrats love spending, and Republicans really love spending. Okay, we spend like crazy. Democrats spend, and Republicans slash our revenue and spend. Okay, I don't know.
Now it doesn't matter because people still do the same thing. They move as soon as the established narrative, the norms that people recognize are at odds with whatever the media is saying, or are at odds with what like right-wing moneyed interests are trying to pump. Then ultimately they move on to the next thing. I am in agreement with what you're saying, but like ultimately,
it's sad because like it's like the inoculation effect. You need to know the arguments to counter them. All this media analysis, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I shouldn't undermine myself. I guess it's my job. Right? I feel like this media analysis of how conservative minds work is incredibly crude. Like if all you watch is Hasan, you're never coming away with an understanding of how conservatives think. Like you're not even close. You're not even in like the same universe.
The market collapse in 2008 probably did significantly more for people to understand that like trickle down economics was bullshit from the jump than anything else. Like
I think you got to be careful about that because leading up to 2008, like, bro, more people were getting houses than should have. People were getting houses that had no offense, but they had no business owning houses. And I think you could argue, this would be a good thing to look up, but I'm too lazy, so take my word for it. I think you could argue that a progressive mindset of like minorities and poor people need more houses probably drove
the price crisis.
some of the underwriting to loans that probably shouldn't have been issued. There was a name I think for I think there was a name for that home ownership loan program that specifically tried to write loans for people that probably shouldn't have had them, like subprime lending and shit. It wasn't. Some of it was driven obviously, especially once MBS and CDOs became lucrative products, especially when U.S. interest rates were so fucking low, right? And people wanted to save us, right? That drove it too, but.
That is a major. That played a major role in people losing confidence in like a lot of economists and what they were saying, which they should lose confidence in because these guys are they're spreading poison. But
let me give you one example: the power of an alternate. So, and it's a very ironic example. So, Iraq War was always obvious. Mainstream media didn't say.
Hasan's compressor is like so fucking aggressive on his goddamn microphone. It sounds overprocessed. I know people don't care about that, but anytime I think it's because of the compressor. When Cenk's not speaking directly into it, it cuts. He so aggressively cuts for background noise, you like lose it completely. Is YouTube censoring? Oh wait, is it YouTube censoring? Oh, I could be totally wrong about it. Maybe it's.
Iraq War was always obvious. Mainstream media didn't say it. They said, "Oh yeah, weapons of mass destruction."
Wait, is it censoring? No, I think it's noise gate. I think it's compression or noise gate shit.
And they attacked in the general same region as Iraq, etc. Right? So okay, 70% of Americans when we attacked Iraq thought
not scared.
they had personally attacked us on 9/11, right? So they mass lied, mass hypnosis, etc. So no matter how much we were right, we couldn't break through. And then that lasts for forever until Donald Trump goes, "Iraq War was bullshit," and all of a sudden the dam break.
Fuck me, dude. I want to say the Iraq War was, in my opinion, bullshit. Probably shouldn't have been there. Okay. However, it wasn't just the fact that the Bush administration lied to us, that they poisoned the entire United States into hating Saddam Hussein, okay? Now, for millennials, we don't really have a memory of it, okay? But the first Gulf War was Saddam Hussein conduct was fucking wild. That guy did not do himself any fucking favors, okay? If Hitler would pull this shit back, we found some concentration camps and he stayed in power, and we would have invaded Hitler for some bullshit reason 20 years or 10 years later, people would probably be like, well, we shouldn't have invaded Hitler and taken him out, 10 years later. Well, the guy didn't do us any favors. Saddam Hussein was fucking wild. He did use chemical weapons, okay? Remember, we know because we sold it to him, quote, the great immoral technique. But no, he did use chemical weapons against Kurdish people in Iraq. He did invade Kuwait because he was mad as fuck that he owed them all money. He didn't want all the money more. The conduct of that country and Iran, the Iraq-Iran war was pretty wild. Saddam Hussein did not do us any favors. Now, I'm not entirely sure. I need to do more reading. I don't know why the fuck we left him there after the first Gulf War. Maybe because we thought he would represent like a stable, uneasy peace that wasn't like aligning these the three countries together to hate on it. I don't even know. He was literally shooting like Scud missiles and shit, I think, into fucking Israel during the first Gulf War, just to trigger them into attacking them. Because destabilized the region. Yeah, maybe it was literally just that, like, bro, yeah, don't fuck around and we'll let you chill. But they only agreed to liberate Iraq. They didn't agree to depose Saddam Hussein. Yeah, I guess okay. Heck, W, I still remember watching the video of Abu Ghraib. They would execute prisoners by tossing concrete blocks off a third-story building to crush them. Did the U.S. do that in Abu Ghraib? Another sex shit and some weird, I believe, Cheney called extended interrogation techniques or enhanced interrogation is what they called it. I don't remember the concrete block shit, but it might have been. I feel like I would have seen videos on that, other videos. I watched a lot of shit.
And then the Republicans go, oh yeah.
No, I disagree with that as well.
No,
I think
before that, until Donald Trump goes, and then that lasts for forever. Until Donald Trump goes, Iraq war was bullshit. And all of a sudden the dam breaks. And then the Republicans go, oh yeah.
No, I disagree with that as well.
No.
I think everybody in the United States was starting to not like Iraq. I think that sentiment was happening even under Obama. I'm pretty sure. No. Let's see. Can I find popularity support for Iraq occupation or just invasion? Maybe I don't know. Can I find this like over time? In 2019, the majority of Americans used military veterans said the Iraq war was not worth fighting. Part of the reason Obama got elected was because he was vocal about opposing the Iraq war. It was definitely yeah, but I'm saying even among Republicans, I'm pretty sure the Iraq war was waning in popularity. It happened because Obama with ISIS everyone blamed him, but also blamed Bush. Yeah, that's true too, because when we pulled out Iraq, power vacuum happened, Syria is fucked, started to get more popular, powerful, ISIS rose, everybody hates fucking Obama for creating ISIS. That's why I say Obama created ISIS. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Republicans started, yeah, way before Donald Trump. Way before Donald Trump.
I think not a single Republican said the Iraq war was bullshit.
That's no shot. Is that true? I would outhandedly not believe that. There is no way. Or offhand, I would not believe that. There's no shot.
It doesn't matter what Republicans say. You and I are at fundamental odds and will forever be at fundamental odds in the way that we...
Ron Paul is not a traditional Republican. He's like a libertarian, so he's not really worth talking about. It says something very precise when the Soviet Union is in the process of imploding, and instead of immediately obliterating a formerly Soviet-aligned state and imposing your own vision of internationalism, you reinforce already agreed upon international norms. Whether or not it's what we should have said, I guess debatable, but it's a very personal. That's actually true. Was the Gulf War 91? Hold on. First Gulf War. Wikipedia. 1990 to 91. So yeah, I guess it makes sense, right? Soviet Union collapses in 91. Probably looks bad that right after the Soviet Union collapses, you start conquering opposing leaders. That would probably be a historically appropriate or contextually time period appropriate view. I wouldn't really think of that now, but yeah, that makes sense.
Analyze the world because I am a believer that the material conditions and things withering away, like larger structural moves in either direction, are significantly more important in bludgeoning people with reality than the media moving in a specific direction. I'm also a believer that, like, under an inherently oppressive construct, yes, you can inevitably shift the attitude in the more reactionary, on the more reactionary side of things. And unfortunately, the only way to... It's like a quasi like Marxian retardation analysis of like society. Like imagine like a frat boy taking Marx and then being a Twitch Roblox streamer and then talking about politics. It's like everything. Stop that is by waiting it out and just eating the pain. But I don't think that the media can get together. Like, let's say if tomorrow MSNBC, CNN, and mainstream media were no longer owned by the same corporate entities and we're actually doing objective journalism across the board and not whenever like it is like anti-Trump, which drives clicks or whatever. And it's
don't like all of these media entities complain about the rising cost of housing. Like, don't all of these media entities complain about like material issues that we're facing today? Like, aren't all these guys saying like, hey, a recession is coming? You know, like, I wish we had more examples of give me clear media bias. Show me stories where these guys are really fucking up. I wish I could see that. I just don't.
Permissible, right? I don't think that would cause
You're speaking very bigly.
a genuine sea change in the way that I think you believe that.
Yeah.
Wait, if you think that corporate media is what's driving public opinion via brainwashing, why wouldn't changing all of corporate media impact people's minds? Can somebody steel man that argument there? That seems incoherent. Because it sounds like he's saying earlier that, like a lot of Republican voters are legitimately just brainwashed by media. But if it's the case that we change all the media, nothing changes, so then what, the media doesn't matter?
A genuine sea change.
Hold on, shit, I'm sorry, real quick. Somebody said, in recent times, the media's been mega caught centrism. Like, how many Hunter Biden and border stories do we get while Trump is saying the same shit every day? I think the issue is because if you don't talk about something, you only let the other side talk about it, then people view you as dishonest. So I think media is like rushing to cover. Like, they have to talk about Hunter Biden, because if you don't talk about Hunter Biden, and Fox News and Ben Shapiro and everybody are like obsessing over it, it looks like you're scared of covering the story, right?
Change Trump, which drives clicks or whatever, and it's permissible, right? I don't think that would cause a genuine sea change in the way that I think you believe that.
Yeah, I think a progressive would be president the next day. Yeah.
I think that they would play a very...
I disagree with Cenk, obviously, but his view is at least consistent. They both seem to agree that the media brainwashes the public. I think they both agree. I think it's not agree with that earlier. Or they must. Otherwise, if a corporate entity can influence a media conglomerate to brainwash the public, why would the corporate entity spend money on the media conglomerate? Corporate entity is only spending money because there's rents to be collected there, right? I'm buying this media entity in order to brainwash the public to drum up support for all the things that you truly hate, right? That you would in a fair media environment. Cenk thinks that if you change the media environment, you change the minds of the people, which is logically consistent. I don't know what wacky, wild skeleton ride we're on in Hasan's circus of a world. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a progressive would be president the next day. Yeah.
I think that they would play a very significant role in changing.
God, and it's so cringe. Cenk over here tried running for, was it House or Senate? Wants to run for president, owns a media company, employs people, like does what he can to communicate with real politicians in a meaningful way. Like he tries, right? I respect Cenk as a man, right? He tries. And then Hasan is sitting over here saying, sorry, bro, it's all hopeless. Selling capitalism is voluntary, whatever merchandise. Like, God, it's so cringe. The dichotomy here is so cringe. Like, Cenk could do so much more real world effectiveness if he had Hasan the resources to reach. Like,
people's attitudes, but the reality is that could never happen in our current structure regardless. There would be need
sure, yeah, Cenk and Polinsky, I think, the Justice Dems, with right now.
For a world where the material realities were different.
But the material realities are different. So we've got every single thing lining up for us. Younger voters, the destruction of mainstream media, rise of new media, but also objective reality. So, for example, why did FDR do incredibly progressive things? Why did LBJ, at least on social issues, do incredibly progressive things? Because
the economic realities, one, demanded it, and two, there was more pushback from outside groups at the time. There was more militant labor, and people were recognizing the writing on the wall about America's dire economic circumstance.
It's exactly right. And what's the situation we're in now? Almost exactly the same thing. Now we need to build a labor movement. We need to build more direct action.
I agree. That's why I do what I do. I think a lot of people don't understand that. The only place that I have any sort of optimism for the future is in the labor movement, which is why I do what I do. I want to
remember, it has to be the labor movement because the only type of analysis that Hasan can do is class analysis, right? It's got to be labor because labor is like one of the things of like labor and capital, and that's the only thing that's the only possible thing you can do anything through. Like,
It's why it's only capitalism bad.
how we saw rape in the workplace, like labor needs to, like, yeah, that's like everything.
I think a lot of people don't understand that. The only place that I have any sort of optimism for the future is in the labor movement.
And on that, yeah, he also done a podcast just to entertain. Okay, I'll probably I'll try to watch the rest of this tomorrow without any research, and we'll just sit there and watch it, I guess. Because fuck learning, am I right?
Okay, let's start with ending there.
30 minutes. Good job, guys. Okay, I'll let you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
What time's your flight tomorrow?
Okay, goodbye then.